Welcome back, dear friends, to the Crimson Academy's course on the Kitab-i-Iqan. In this section, we're covering paragraphs 153 through 155 of the Kitab-i-Iqan. In these paragraphs, His Holiness Baha'u'llah states that the revelation of the Bab has made this day the mightiest day, and his resurrection is the most awe-inspiring resurrection. However, the Muslim clergy failed to recognize the Bab and to acquire true knowledge. Hence, they should not have been called learned, no matter how long they had engaged in the pursuit of knowledge. Dear friends, we're going to share with you some following key points from the paragraphs 153 through 155. We will share with you 6 key points. The events that occurred before the declaration of the Bab and during his ministry, his influence on the learned of his time, and the miraculous condition of his martyrdom are evidences of the greatness of his revelation. Next key point: the truly learned is he who attains the grace of the divine presence and recognizes the manifestation of God on the day of resurrection. The next key point is the clergy at the time of the Bab failed to understand the true meaning of resurrection, to recognize His Holiness the Bab, or to receive the grace of the attainment unto the divine presence. The next key point: an individual's knowledge can become a veil when it results in pride and vain glory. The 5th key point: one of the signs of the day of resurrection is that the unlettered can attain the station of the truly learned by recognizing the manifestation of God. And the last key point: His Holiness Baha'u'llah initiated the cycle of fulfillment, since he fulfilled all the prophecies made during the previous prophetic cycle. In paragraph 153, His Holiness Baha'u'llah states, "No day is mightier than this day, and that no resurrection more awful than this resurrection can ever be conceived." And friends, the expressions "this resurrection" and "this day" are references to the revelation of the Bab and to his dispensation respectively. The statement of Baha'u'llah that no resurrection has been more awe-inspiring than the resurrection of the Bab is a testimony. Make sure I read it right. Yes, that no resurrection has been more awe-inspiring than the resurrection of the Bab is a testimony to the greatness of the revelation of the Bab. The beloved guardian states in the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, page 124, that the events that occurred before the declaration of the Bab and during his ministry, his influence on the learned of his time, and the miraculous circumstances of his martyrdom are evidences of the greatness of his revelation. A study of the history of the dispensation of the Bab, including the life of his followers, many of whom were the most learned of the time, provides us with a clear appreciation of the guardian's statement. The chain of events from the time of Sheikh Ahmad to the meeting of Mullah Hussein of the Bab is all mysterious in nature and clearly providential. Mullah Hossein Bushrui narrated the following after his first meeting with the Bab. I felt possessed of such courage and power that were the world, all its peoples and its potentates, to rise against me, I would alone and undaunted withstand their onslaught. The universe seemed but a handful of dust in my grasp. I seemed to be the voice of Gabriel personified, calling unto all mankind, Awake, for lo, the morning light has broken. And friends, this was the beloved Guardian in the Dawnbreakers, page 65. Such a powerful impact is evident on all those who met the Bab. The episodes of Nayriz, Zanjan, Sheikh Tabarsi, the martyrdom of thousands of the Bab's followers, and the bravery they showed, all indicate the courage and detachment that the revelation of the Bab infused in his followers. The extraordinary drama at the time of the martyrdom of the Bab, during which he was unharmed by the 750 bullets fired at him, is an evidence of the potency of the Bab in defeating his enemies. The drama concluded with his martyrdom when he was satisfied that his mission had been completed. And friends, this is from Mr. Douglas Martin's book, The Mission of the Bab, retrospective 1844 to 1994, in the Baha'i World, pages 94 through 95, and also pages 193 through 225. Another important characteristic of the revelation of the Bab was that it signalized the termination of the prophetic cycle and established the necessary preconditions for the inception of the cycle of fulfillment. And friends, this is a reference to the beloved Guardian in God Passes By, page 57. According to His Holiness Abdul Baha, there are cycles of major events and occurrences. And Abdul Baha, this is a reference in Some Answered Questions, page 182. Cycles of major events and occurrences for the whole universe. Such cycles are referred to as universal cycles. Among the great events occurring during a universal cycle are the appearances of the manifestations of God. The emergence of each manifestation begins with a smaller cycle through which the laws and ordinances revealed by Him prevail. When one cycle is ended, another cycle begins, and the spiritual springtime is renewed. This process repeats until a universal or supreme manifestation of God appears and causes the whole world to reach the point of maturity for that cycle. The manifestations appearing afterwards are spiritually under the shadow of the supreme manifestation, although they reveal teachings and laws according to requirements of that age. The current universal cycle started with Adam around 6,000 years ago, and His Holiness Baha'u'llah is the supreme manifestation of God of this cycle. The major manifestations of God who have appeared so far in this universal cycle are Adam, Krishna, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, the Bab, and now the supreme manifestation, His Holiness Baha'u'llah. All the manifestations of God appearing before Baha'u'llah made prophecies to a day of days when the promise of all ages should be made manifest. And friends, this can be found referenced the beloved Guardian Shoghi Effendi in the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, pages 11 through 12. That is why the period in which these manifestations appeared is known as the prophetic cycle. On the other hand, the cycle started by Baha'u'llah is known as the cycle of fulfillment, as he has fulfilled all the prophecies made during the prophetic cycle. Muhammad was the last prophet of God in the prophetic cycle, in establishing the preconditions for the establishment of the cycle of fulfillment. The dispensation of the Bab links the two major periods in this universal cycle. In paragraph 154, His Holiness Baha'u'llah describes the condition of becoming truly learned. An individual is truly learned when he attains the divine presence and recognizes the manifestation of God on the day of resurrection. The clergy at the time of the Bab failed to understand the true meaning of resurrection, to recognize the Bab, and to receive the grace of the attainment unto the divine presence. For this reason, they should not have been called learned, no matter how long they had engaged in the pursuit of their limited material knowledge. His Holiness Baha'u'llah confirms that numerous were those who accounted themselves among the wise and the learned, yet in the day of God were deprived of the outpourings of heavenly bounties. And friends, this is a reference to His Holiness Baha'u'llah, to Tablets of Baha'u'llah, page 256. His Holiness Baha'u'llah gives a more detailed description of the qualities of a truly learned. He is truly learned who hath acknowledged my revelation and drunk from the ocean of my knowledge, and soared in the atmosphere of my love, and cast away all else besides me, and taken firm hold on that which hath been sent down from the kingdom of my wondrous utterance. And friends, this can be found in Tablets of Baha'u'llah, page 207. Even people with little or no education are described as being of those divinely learned men whose knowledge is of God, when they recognize the manifestation of God on the day of resurrection and attain His presence. His Holiness Baha'u'llah has reiterated this spiritual principle in the hidden words when he states, "The learned and the wise have for long years striven and failed to attain the presence of the All-Glorious. They have spent their lives in search of Him, yet did not behold the beauty of His countenance. Thou, without the least effort, didst attain thy goal, and without search hast obtained the object of thy quest." And this, friends, is from His Holiness Baha'u'llah in the hidden words, the Persian number 22. Despite their diversity of forms, styles, and topics, the writings of Baha'u'llah are not difficult for a pure-hearted and detached recipient to understand, and do not require an academic background or prior learning. And friends, this is from Adib Tahirzadeh, The Revelation of Baha'u'llah, Volume 1, Baghdad, period 1853 to 1863, page 43. A significant number of well-known disciples of Baha'u'llah who sacrificed their lives for him were people with little or no formal education. Adib Tahirzadeh explains, the revelation of Baha'u'llah confers a new capacity on those whose hearts are touched by its light and enables them to acquire a knowledge which is not dependent on learning. This knowledge is referred to in Islam as a light which God casteth into the heart of whomsoever he willeth. And friends, you can find this in Adib Tarzada's book, The Revelation of Baha'u'llah, Volume 1, page 43. It should be emphasized that Baha'u'llah has not condemned academic learning and material knowledge. In fact, the believers are counseled to acquire knowledge of the arts and sciences. Baha'u'llah has stated, "Knowledge is as wings to man's life, and a ladder for his ascent." Its acquisition is incumbent upon everyone. The knowledge of such sciences, however, should be acquired as can profit the peoples of the earth, and not those which begin with words and end with words. He then praises knowledge as a veritable treasure for man and a source of glory, of bounty, of joy, of exaltation, of cheer and gladness unto him. And friends, this is references from His Holiness Baha'u'llah, Tablets of Baha'u'llah, page 51. However, the acquisition of knowledge should not result in pride, self-glory, and arrogance, else that knowledge becomes a veil that hinders the heart of the individual to receive divine knowledge and inspiration. The learned should be aware of the limitations of material knowledge in comparison with the truth enshrined in God's revelation, and to manifest absolute humility and self-effacement. In paragraph 155, His Holiness Baha'u'llah states that the attainment by the unlettered to the station of the truly learned through the recognition of the manifestation of God is one of the signs of the day of resurrection. He refers to a hadith and a verse from the Quran to further illustrate his explanation. The hadith originates from one of the 12 Imams of Islam. "The abased amongst you he shall exalt, and they that are exalted he shall abase." It states that Muslims will be afflicted with severe tests on the day of resurrection. As a result of these tests, those who are exalted will lose their station and authority, and will be abased, while those who are downtrodden will be exalted in rank and station. In a reference to this hadith, His Holiness Baha'u'llah explains that when Muhammad, the Prophet of God, may all men be a sacrifice unto him, appeared, the learned men of Mecca and Medina arose in the early days of his revelation against him, and rejected his message, while they who were destitute of learning recognized and embraced his faith. Ponder a while. Consider how Bilal the Ethiopian, unlettered though he was, ascended into the heaven of faith and certitude, whilst Abdullah Ubay, a leader among the learned, maliciously strove to oppose him. Behold how a mere shepherd was so carried away by the ecstasy of the words of God that he was able to gain admittance into the habitation of his best beloved, and was united to him who is the Lord of mankind, whilst they who prided themselves on their knowledge and wisdom strayed far from his path and remained deprived of his grace. And friends, this can be found in His Holiness Baha'u'llah's book, Gleanings from the Writings of Baha'u'llah, page 83. The verse from the Quran is, "And we desire to show favor to those who were brought low in the land, and to make them spiritual leaders among men, and to make of them our heirs." And friends, this is from the Quran, chapter 28, verse 5. This verse conveys a similar concept to the hadith mentioned earlier. Thank you, dear friends.